Welcome back to Discover Brightlife, a podcast sharing stories of how to overcome loneliness. This time, we hear from the men, like Eddie.
Health got me, but this place has been bigger saviour for me than anything.
Ian.
It'd have to be something quite special to take the place of what we've got here.
And Steve.
There's one or two said that this place has saved their life, and that's quite a statement, that.
Marking International Older Persons Day 2019, we prove that there is life after retirement.
Death is inevitable. However, don't wait for death to come. He's going to come anyway. Just enjoy your life and forget he's there.
Championed by Age UK Cheshire, supported by Brightlife Cheshire, we visit the Men in Sheds project in Hertford and Winsford.
We've got chaps here who have sort of spent 50 years as cabinet makers, model railway enthusiasts. You've got former police officers.
We believe it's time to celebrate the older generations, not ignore them.
At a point, I just turned around and realised that all these guys are not the people I work with necessarily. They're my friends.
And we believe in challenging loneliness, because sometimes the best medicine is a good laugh in friendly company.
My name is Gus Glynn. I am the project coordinator here at Men in Sheds in Hertford, Cheshire, and I've been with the project just over 18 months. I started January of last year. I've had a kind of a two-track working history, if you like. So I've always worked in construction and menial general labouring before I became a self-employed plumber and gas engineer. But that was because I've always been a musician at the same time, so I've always had that double track going on.
Floating about on a cloud, you've been floating about till now. You've got a lot on your mind. We're gonna leave it all alone for a while.
I've played music all my life. I started playing folk guitar when I was about 14, and then I did classical guitar for some time, and then I started working on building sites, so I grabbed an electric and started playing punk and rock and stuff like that. And then when I left Ireland and came to England, all I wanted to hear was Irish music. I didn't realise that I'd miss it, so I became a kind of a folky singer-songwriter. Being a musician and kind of creative type, I had to drag myself kicking and screaming into the world of engineering and labouring. But I found once I got into it, I really liked it. And I really liked being practical. I probably always was more practical than I realised. And I really like fixing things. I really enjoyed fixing things when I was a heating engineer, fixing boilers and things like that. And I like the kind of tactile nature of woodwork and metalwork. You know, it's much more tactile than I would have expected it to be. You know, the kind of blending of man and machine, and it really is more than just a kind of Miles Nagopoline kind of level. If you know who I mean, the man with the bicycle who he believed he shared atoms with. I think there's a lot of that interaction that people don't realise often through their working life, and then they miss it afterwards. And I think that's why the shed's one of the reasons that it works very well as a project. You know.
Spin round.
That's some weird.
And a bell goes bing.
That's some weird minds around here. See?
Whilst Gus is here to work, he does admit it doesn't always feel like it's a job.
You know, at a point, I just turned around and realised that all these guys are not the people I work with necessarily. They're my friends. You know, they're and that's the way I feel about them. I just really like hanging out with them. I didn't necessarily expect that. You know, I expected to get a lot from working with people, but I don't, you know, at all feel like they need me to be here to survive. You know, I think lots of people could be lucky enough to do my job, and I've been lucky enough to do it and met some great people that I really like being around, you know.
It's 10 o'clock, time to start work.
The population is ageing, but does that mean our minds are? Gus talks about some of the things that have surprised him about spending his days with the older generation.
The insight into the fact that older people are every bit as alive as anybody of any age, I think that's something that unconsciously we tend to think that, oh, that's an old person. I won't really consider that their life is very alive and very current. Which of course it is. You know, everybody's internal experience is immediate, you know. So as I got to know the attendees better and the volunteers, I just found it more and more heartening how alive and individual everybody still is, you know, right into whatever age, you know, as long as we're breathing, we seem to be these amazing individuals, you know. So I wasn't shocked, but I was kind of pleasantly surprised at times as well. And also at how well people look after each other in a small community like this. They really do look after each other, and how unconsciously they can make a lot of space for people. So people obviously have varying social and emotional needs when they come here. And the group just makes the right amount of space for them, you know, and really integrates people very well.
When he applied for the job, the description was pretty open. But now, after 18 months, he's starting to notice some trends about what works and what doesn't.
Really, they just need a place where they're allowed to be themselves. That's what I've noticed. If there's a kind of healing factor in the sheds, it's the fact that they can come in and just completely be themselves. They can act like little boys if they want and just play with the timber, and they can chat and they can joke in any way they want, and they can say what they want, you know, within reason, obviously. I've never seen anybody intentionally insult anybody else, though they do like to wind each other up, and that's all part of the fun. But I've never seen any intentional malice. And it's just a testament really to how well human beings do get on together without lots of direction.
We've already mentioned the stats and the health benefits that a project like the shed can bring. But in Gus's opinion, sometimes transformation isn't something words or research can capture.
The benefit that people get is they can sit down and say that something is bothering them. I mean, I've seen people come in just to have a look at the sheds, and they'd sit in the kitchen and the canteen, and somebody will be moaning about something, and that's exactly what they need to hear, that other people have the same problems and they just want to maybe vent a little bit, or just talk about it or just realise that other people have the same problems, you know, and that's really, really heartening to see that. And that in itself can be really beneficial for a lot of people. But they really get to know each other outside of the shed as well, and they know each other's families, and they know when, you know, if somebody isn't too good. Like one of our attendees was in Scotland recently, had a fall, hurt his hip, and we all knew about it because he was texting us and telling us what the hospital procedures were, and some of our guys went to visit, and then when he came back, he came in to the shed. As soon as he was up and about, he had to, you know, nip in and update us, and the community goes a lot further and wider than the shed.
At the very heart of this podcast is capturing stories of how people, men and women, are overcoming loneliness, something Gus has seen firsthand.
I think we know how catastrophic loneliness and isolation can be. You know, the physical system can just start to shut down when we don't have the kind of stimulation that we need for everything to keep running tickety-boo, and the effect that has on the wider family, and therefore, you know, potentially can be huge, you know. But for the individual, yeah, loneliness can bring you down very, very quickly. You know, people have told me that the place saved their lives, and the fact that it's so simple. You know, all the people need is a place where they feel that they're welcome.
Having a purpose. That's a phrase that many of the men say the sheds has given them. But there are more subtle plus points that even they won't realise.
I think it's really obvious to anybody who looks into the shed, even for 2 minutes. They can see the amount of pride that a chap will take in just thinking, well, I'm fixing this, I'm doing this, and it's just so good for your whole being to feel that you have that confidence, and that you're in control, and that you're valued in your environment. All those aspects are really helpful, and I think for us as well, when we go to craft fairs and we come outside of the shed and we show other people what we've made, to have that interaction as well is really good. So that's like society saying, oh, we think that's good too, you know, and the guys can show that off and get a lot of the benefits that you get from the working life without having the stresses. You know, things don't have to be done in a particular time. There's no deadlines, and they can come as many hours a day or a week as they please, you know. So it has the benefits without the stresses, really.
And if you've got a light, like a sailor in the night, we can ride.
So how has this impacted Gus, the man, not the boss, when it comes to anticipating the inevitable ageing process?
It's made me probably happier in my own aging process, and it's widened my perspective. It's kind of taught me that there's lots of people around, and they're pretty good, and they're not very far away. You know, it's all here, and the vibe is really good, you know, if you keep things simple. It's been really good for me, really positive in that way.
You've been listening to Discover Brightlife, a series created by me, Claire Freeman, from A Small Furry Bear Productions, on behalf of Brightlife Cheshire. For more about the sheds and other projects supported by Brightlife, visit brightlifecheshire.org.uk.